Okay, so while you're getting yourself all logged in and checked in there, guys, couple of kind of tips, reminders, okay, of what it is that you're working on here and kind of the things that are expected. Okay, obviously remember that the problem needs to be restated in your own words in the form of a question. Okay, we're talking about how we can identify unknown compounds based on their physical properties. Okay, so something along those lines in the form of a question. Okay, we talked about our variables yesterday. Okay, remember that when you identify them, you're not just identifying them. You also need to explain to me, okay, why the unknown compounds or the unknown samples are the manipulated variable. Okay, and it's got to be beyond they're different every time. Okay, I mean, while that's true in the simplest sense, okay, that is certainly not a 5 out of 5 explanation for why the unknown samples are the manipulated variable. Okay, remember we want to include how they're being manipulated and how that might affect, okay, our responding variable, which we said, of course, was the physical properties that they all possess. Okay, so, and again, we want an explanation of that. Why is that the responding variable? How is it responding to what we're doing? Okay, how is that going to help us with what we're trying to do? The controlled variables, remember that we said we needed 3. Okay, I gave you a big one yesterday. Okay, you need to think about your procedure. Sometimes you don't do the controlled variables until after you've written the procedure, and then you can look at your procedure and go, oh, I kind of said that that needed to be the same all the time. I'm going to go back and put that in my controlled variables and explain why I have to control it. Okay, how would it affect the experiment if I didn't make sure I did it the same way every time? Okay, everyone follow me on that? All right, so those are the things we want to be thinking about. Okay, if you do a good job, a thorough job of something like this, okay, it's going to be a couple of pages. Right, it's going to be a couple of pages worth of writing if you do a good job of it. Okay, if when you're done, it's almost the same length as it is right now, that isn't a good sign. Okay, because that means you've got very simplistic answers, okay, or very simplistic responses, right, to all of the parts. So make sure you put some detail in there. Okay. And then, obviously, once we've got that done, then you've got your hypothesis. Okay, if, and then, and that's going to be the toughest part. Okay, in the hypothesis, remember, in the if part, we want to talk about the premise that we are working on in this experiment. And the premise comes from the problem. Okay, and it's that everything has unique physical properties. That's what we're working on. Okay, we think that that's true. If it isn't, then we're going to have problems. All right, we're not going to get the results that we think we are. All right, and those results that we think we're going to get are that each unique sample is going to have a different set of data and a different set of physical properties, and that's going to allow us to do something. All right, so that's the kind of pattern or the flow that your hypothesis needs to have. If this is what's going on and this is the experiment, then this is what we're going to see, or this is what we're going to be able to do, or this is the pattern that will show up. Okay, that's how your hypothesis has to flow. Okay, obviously you've got your unknowns up here. While you guys are working, I'm going to bring them over on the cart. I got them all put together yesterday. So if you get to the point where you kind of got your procedure done, and you want to maybe start taking a look at what these things look like, and maybe writing down a couple of observable properties, you're welcome to do that with the large samples. Okay, obviously we'll use the depression plates, okay, on Monday, and use smaller amounts of sample. But if you want to have a look at what some of the things look like, you're welcome to do that. Okay, everyone follow me there? I would just say that be careful when you're maneuvering them around, right? Some of them we definitely don't want to spill. Okay, because some of them are uber concentrated. Okay, and some of them are solids that are harmful. Okay, that we don't want to touch with our fingers. Okay, or get on anything. Okay, things like that. So if you want to start filling out this chart a little bit today, I mean that is if you have the procedure all done, you're welcome to do that. Sometimes looking at the samples gives you some ideas of the things you might want to say in some of your steps. Okay, so when you're describing the observable properties test, you look at a sample and you go, okay, I would probably say the following things about this. Then you go back to your procedure and tell them you should really look for things like this. Okay, record the following data when performing this test, etc. All right, and like I said, that's as far as we'll get today. You do need for Monday to be that far. Okay, the procedure has to be done for Monday. Otherwise, you don't have a procedure to follow on Monday, and that really makes labs difficult, right, when you don't have a set of instructions to follow. So that's how far you got to get. Okay, the rest of it, obviously that will fill in the lab on Monday, but we're not bringing the Chromebooks into the lab. Okay, so make sure that you have this like drawn out by hand, just roughly, so you can write the observations in or print it off or something like that for Monday, so you can take paper into the lab to write your observations on. Okay, and then the rest of the stuff you can't do until you have that data. Okay. Also remember that when we get to the analysis part, okay, we're telling each other, or you're telling me, sorry, whether it's ionic or molecular, and which one of the unknowns in the list of materials is sample A. Is it water? Is it hydrogen chloride? Is it ammonium nitrate? Which one is it? Okay, then you got your conclusion where you copy and paste your hypothesis, and then based on your results and your observations and your analysis, is it acceptable or not? And then your sources of error. You must have at least 2 of those. I don't know if I mentioned that before or not, but you must have at least 2 sources of error, as well as how you could improve them. Okay, how would you eliminate them in the future? And then reminder, you do not need to do the class discussion. All right, we're going to talk about those questions when I return the lab. Okay, any questions on any of that? Okay, so let's make good use of our time, guys, because I'm giving you class time for something that would otherwise be homework for you. Okay, so the more you work in class today, the less you will have to do on your own time later. All right, have at her.